to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And we are back once again. It is a Wednesday morning, and I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And I goofed up. I messed up. And I want to apologize ahead of time. You guys don't even know how I messed up, but I messed up yesterday. So I used to do this podcast with a bunch of other people, and there's always people kind of coming and going, and it was a lot of fun. And the podcast is still fun, but it's better when I have my buddies here. It's better when I have my guests here. And yesterday, me and the Cajun Cowboy finally were able to connect. And we were able to come together on a time and a place to do the podcast. And he showed up, and I made a rookie mistake. After doing these for all these years, we showed up, and we probably had 30 or 40 minutes down, for the podcast. Like, we were still rolling. Like, we hadn't even got into the meat of the podcast. And we were going back and forth, making each other laugh, just having a great time. You guys would have loved it. It was fantastic. We're doing this, and I'm thinking, man, this is a freaking perfect podcast. This is going to be an excellent podcast. This is going to be the best one we've had in quite a while. And I looked down to see, because I had a class that was getting ready to start in about 30, 40 minutes. And I looked down to see how much time I had left for the podcast so I could kind of make the point we wanted to make, and I could bring it home. And someone, I'm not naming any names now, and it definitely wasn't the Cajun Cowboy, because remember, he's got that high IQ. But it was the guy running the board. It was a rookie mistake. I forgot to hit the record button as I check it right now to see if it's recording now, of course. So I had that whole big podcast planned. It was going to be absolutely a fantastic podcast. And now you're stuck with just me. Telling my story. So I hope that's good enough. I want to get this out before it gets a little too old in my brain. And tell you what happened to me. But I'm going to preface this with, the world is changing. The world is changing, and especially around here, if you're from the area that I live in, the world is definitely changing. It is becoming, we are growing. We got lots of people moving in from out of state. I mean, our population is just like through the roof. I think a couple of years ago, we were one of the fastest growing states, or the fastest growing areas, in the United States or something. I mean, we just have people pouring in from everywhere. And with that comes what? With that comes crime, right? You're going to get a lot of good people moving in, but you're going to also, that's going to attract crime. You're going to get those low lifes and those guys that would do you harm and do bad things. You're going to get that kind of aspect of people coming in as well. And I'm going to tell you, I had an incident. There's an incident that happened to me, and it just seems to culminate into this one weekend or this 1 week. So we had a week here where, my little area, and this, if you're from a bigger metro area, this may not seem like anything to you, but our little area right here, we actually had 2 shootings within pretty much hours of each other. 2 shootings in 12 hours. That's what we're going to say. We had an incident in the Target parking lot locally. That means nothing to anyone else. But there was 2 groups of people. They were starting to fight, and someone was shot. And then later on that evening, a gentleman heard some noise out in front of his house, and he went out to find someone was trying to jack his car. And I don't know exactly what ensued. The gentleman who checked on his car went outside to check on the noise he heard. This was I think at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. He did not have a firearm, and I think he confronted the person who was in his car, and then that person turned and shot him twice and sped off. Now this gentleman died. I mean, he was a dad, right? He was a father, a husband. He had 2 little boys and a wife inside the house. And this just doesn't happen that much here, or In the past, it has not. And I look and I like to say that I am that old person now. I am that old person because I want to, I'm looking around. I'm looking around at where the kids, the youth gather in the town. And I'm saying, don't do that. That's crime. That's inviting crime. That's inviting drugs. We don't need that here, right? And then I look at the area of town where that happened, and I can say, I've been here long enough that I remember when that was still a bean field, right? I remember when they still grew corn over there. Like, that was part of town, but it really wasn't part of town. Those were farmers' fields. Well, it's definitely changing around here. And, I can notice this. The average joke, the traffic is through the roof. We're seeing more and more homeless people. And I'm not knocking the people down on their luck, but there's more and more homeless type of people. Well, I've mentioned before, I like to run. I like to get out and run. I run these races and whatnot. So I train. I train quite often. I train probably 5-6 days a week. And the rule with my wife, and not only do I do the shooting stuff, so that's my business. That's what I like to do. I need to be a husband. I need to be a dad. I got those kind of responsibilities as well. So if I'm going to go run and I'm going to go train for these races, it takes a lot of time. I mean, I'm training a couple hours a day, so that adds up over the week. And the deal I made with my wife is I'll try to keep that from interfering with family time as much as I can. So I tend to do these things early in the morning. I tend to go out and run early in the morning when it doesn't interfere with anything, like taking my kid to school or business or time with my wife or whatever that is. So that's just the rule. And I've been doing it like this for about 7 years. There's this place just slightly outside of the town, we'll say Twin, where I live or near where I live, that I go to run. It's down in what we call the Snake River Canyon. It's it's a park, kind of a park. It's not a park like green, rolling grassy hills and playgrounds, but it's like trails, hiking trails, walking trails, walk your dog. You can ride mountain bikes on these trails. It's out through the sagebrush and whatnot. But you go down into the canyon, and it's a place called Auger. We call Auger Falls Park, and it's by the Snake River. It's a nice place. I've been going down there for a long time. And, in this area, we allow people to do things like jump off. We have a big, what we call the Prime Bridge. So we allow a lot of outdoor recreation. There's lots of kayakers, and there's lots of, they'll come through and kayak the Snake River. They'll see where Evel Knievel jumped, because that happened here as well. We allow them to base jump off the Prime Bridge into the Snake River Canyon. So that's a big draw. Tons of people from out of town, like every day, like year round, constantly here. And then we get what I call, and I'm not being negative, okay, because it's actually a term, right? We call them dirtbag campers. And a lot of times they're the guys that are living the van life people. They're not bad people. They're just living in their van, and they go from spot to spot and see the views and do the mountain biking, and they do the base jumping. They do all that, right? So when I go down there, even though people aren't supposed to camp in this park, or in this parking area, this trailhead, they do. I see them in the vans. I see them in whatever, and that's fine, right? But lately, I've been seeing more of the homeless type of people down there. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was a beat up a minivan down there, and they had all this junk piled up. I mean, it looked like Portland. Portland gathered up some of the finest residents of that city. And I'm being sarcastic when I say that, brought them up here and regurgitated them out, vomited them out into the parking lot there. I mean, there was incense burning, there was drug paraphernalia, everything. I had to call it in, get them out of there. I don't want them there. I want to feel safe there. There's lots of people there, right? But I tend to go down there early in the morning. And a lot of times there are people that are leaving when I'm coming in. Well, this was one of the times I was down there early in the morning. It was Sunday morning. I went down there, and I knew that there was winter weather moving in, and I had like a 4-hour run that I had to do. And I needed to get there early because I didn't want to do my entire run in the sleet and the snow and the rain and the 50-mile-an-hour winds that they were calling for. So I showed up early because I figured I could at least get the first part of my run done. And in nice weather. It wasn't warm, but it was nice weather. And then the crappy stuff would move in, and I'd be able to just finish it up then. And so I did. I showed up an hour early. I probably hour, 20 minutes, hour and a half earlier than normal. And usually I'm the only guy down there, okay? And I don't own this place, so I understand it's a public area, but it's just weird to see someone down there super early. But I've been seeing lots of different things happen down there, lots of vehicles that shouldn't be there, people living in their cars, and these aren't the van life people. I've just been seeing lots of interesting things happen down there lately. Well, as I have in the city, I've been seeing lots of more homeless people and stuff like that. So, things are changing. I pull up down there. It's about 4:20, 4:30 in the morning. It's still really dark, obviously. I pull up, and I always pull in. They have. I'm going to get kind of descriptive here. I just kind of want to set the scene for anyone who hasn't been there before. I pull up, and there's what we call an outhouse, or what's called like a vault toilet, right? And it's right there, and I pull up next to it because when you run, you drink your caffeine, your coffee, whatever to wake you up, and then before you run, what do you have to do? You got to use the bathroom, right? Because you don't want to do it out on the trail, okay? Or you want to try to avoid that. So I have a routine. I go down there. I was driving an old Chevy Tahoe. I pull my vehicle up there, and I leave it running. I get up there, put it in park. All the doors unlock because that's what these stupid vehicles do. So I reach down, and I don't like to sit there with my doors unlocked. So I lock the doors, and I'm sitting in there. And I notice that when I pull up, just behind me on the other side of the parking lot, but relatively close, it's not very far apart, maybe 30, 40 feet, there is a car parked, and it's pointing the opposite direction away from me, but all the lights are on, and there's two people that I can see. It seems like there's a man and a woman there. They got the doors open, the dome lights on, the back hatches opened up, and they're just rifling through their stuff in this car, and I don't know what they're doing. I don't bother to ask. It's 4:30 in the morning. You don't want to talk to anyone that early in the morning. I was there to run and get back home, right? Take a hot shower and be done for the day. That was my ultimate goal. It's all business. So I go down there, I pull in there like I normally do, I start gathering up my stuff, I grab my headlamp, I put my headlamp on because there's literally no light anywhere there, and I go ahead and I have to use the bathroom. So all the doors of my vehicle are locked. I manually unlock the driver's side, and I always leave my vehicle running, and I leave the lights on, and I want the heater to run, and the headlights kind of light everything up. And I have my dog. She is a Belgian Malinois German Shepherd cross, and she's not as crazy or as vicious as one might think. She's actually kind of a scaredy cat, pretty timid, really friendly, likes everyone, but very unsure of everything. I don't think I've heard her growl at anybody or anything, but she likes to run with me. And so she's in the back of the Tahoe. She kind of stays in the back. And so I get out with my headlamp, and I'm really close. I take like probably 6 steps to the bathroom door, go in there, lock it, do my thing, right? I'm coming out. As I'm coming out, before I open the door, I have my headlamp on so I can see what's happening. And I'm like, something just didn't set right with me, right? When you go into one of those restrooms and you push the door open, it's kind of like it's a fatal funnel. Like, you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know if people are going to rush you. You don't know if they're going to push you down. You just don't know if there's someone just waiting for you on the other side of the door. So I used my foot. I unlocked it. I used my foot, and I kind of pushed it open, right? So it opened up, and then I kind of stayed back, right? So no one would jump out and get me or whatever. It just something felt really uneasy because there was people there, and didn't know what they were doing or why they were there, and it was something new and out of place. Now, I did that and everything went fine. So I had my headlamp on, and I just got back into the driver's seat, shut the door, and locked it. And I'm gathering up all my stuff. I've got a running vest that I wear. I'm putting my food in there because you got to have snacks and water and extra batteries for the headlamp, pair of gloves, that kind of thing, right? But something really wasn't sitting well with me. They just wasn't. And there's a book I always talk about. It's a guy who wrote it. It's called, the name of the book is called The Gift of Fear. And the guy who wrote it is Gavin DeBecker, I believe. I could have that wrong, but it's Gavin DeBecker, Gift of Fear, I believe. And I recommend it a lot to a lot of students to read. It's like I say, it's called The Gift of Fear. And it talks about how fear is a friend, whether it's the fear, the Holy Spirit, the intuition, whatever it is, it's there. And you need to pay attention to it because it will save you. It's your subconscious telling you something isn't right. And it's a documented fact that when people go and all these people that were like attacked by serial killers or ran in with a serial killer or a bad person or they were assaulted or whatever, they will talk about this. Something felt off, but they ignored it. Something felt off, but they ignored it. And they'll even talk about dogs. Like they're like, well, for some reason, my dog likes everyone. My dog did not like this person, but I just ignored it because it all seemed right. Right? It's the gift of fear. Pay attention to it; it can save your life. And I think that's kind of what I was feeling when I was sitting in the driver's seat. I was getting my stuff ready. Now I have a little gun that I carry. It's a little Kel-Tec P3AT. The tiniest little 380, and I've posted pictures of it on the Facebook page before, and I'll have to do it again. I've got a little Kydex holster that I've made for it, and it fits right in my running vest. It fits up in a pocket in the holster. Works out great. It's a little gun though. I mean, my hand is bigger than the gun. It's tiny. It's like 5 rounds of 380. When you run, you don't want a lot of weight. You want to be light and agile, and chafing is a thing. So we go with small and lightweight, kind of like hiking maybe, right? So, but I had this, and I was like, I had it in my pocket on my vest, and my vest was on, and I was like, I'm going to get ready I need to get started. I need to get started before this weather moves in. I need to get running. And, you kind of sit there for a minute or two, and you're really just trying to wake up and get the gumption to go out and run. As much as I love running when I'm out there doing it, I absolutely love it. But it still takes gumption to get out and go, okay, I'm going to have to run for 4 hours now. And getting started is the hardest part, just like with everything else. So I decided, hey, look, let's prolong this just a little bit more. But I don't want to have to go find a rock or a sagebrush bush or anything like that. So let me go in and try to use the bathroom, one more time just to make sure I'm good to go. And as I was getting ready to get out of my vehicle, my brain said, take the gun out of the pocket of your vest, take your gun out of that pocket and put it in the pocket of your shorts. So it's a lot more easily accessible, right? And I don't run with it in the pocket of my shorts because it just bangs or it just beats on your leg. So I have it in my vest. Something told me to take it out and put it in my pocket of my shorts. So I did. Got out the Tahoe. I left my vehicle running. That driver's side door was unlocked. All the other doors were locked. And I keep repeating this because I think this plays into it. And I got out and I stepped up in the bathroom. These people are still milling around their vehicle, okay? And I stepped back in the bathroom. Got in there, did my thing, wasn't in there for very long, turned around, and I'm getting ready to open the door. And a thing in my brain said, kick the door open again, push it and kick it open like I'm Superman. Just push it open with your foot and stay back for a minute. But you need to reach into your pocket. You need to take the gun out of the holster, and you need to hold the gun and keep it in your pocket, but you need to hold that gun in your hand. And I was like, what do you mean? So, but I just felt this feeling that that's what I needed to do. So I did. I took the gun out. I took the holster off, put the holster in the other pocket. Like I said, it's just a little tiny Kydex holster to protect the trigger. Now, this gun has a notoriously long trigger press anyhow. If you're not familiar with the Kel-Tec P3AT, it takes a team of mules and, half a mile to press this trigger, to fire this gun. And I held it in my hand, but I left my hand. Now, my finger wasn't on the trigger, but I held the gun in my pocket, okay, of my shorts. And I pushed the door open with my foot and nothing. The people were still out there milling around. Okay, that's cool. I had my headlamp on. I took 3 steps out. And this happened really, I slowed it way down because I'm explaining it. But this happened relatively quickly. I stepped out of the bathroom I took about 3 steps out. And the guy, I won't even call him a gentleman, the guy that was across at the car he doesn't come running, but he comes rushing up, approaching me very, very quickly. He's focused on me, or as focused as he can be, because I can see my headlamp, the light from because it's a bright one. It's like, for a headlamp, it's really bright. I mean, it's like 400 or 500 lumens, is like blinding him, and he's squinting his eyes, and he's kind of got his head turned. And as he comes rushing up to me, he's like, sir. And all I could do at that point was I need to stop him, right? So I put out my hand, not the one with the gun. I put out my support hand, put out my hand like stop. And I hollered at him and said, whoa, what do you need? I was just trying to startle him to get him to stop and keep somewhat of a distance because he was approaching, and he was approaching quickly. And it startled him, and he stopped. And as he was trying to come up with something to say, it was like he didn't have this part planned out. Like this was spur of the moment. He didn't know what to say. And this is what he asked me. He goes, "Hey, is there a pond around here? Is there a pond around here? I think there's 2 ponds over here. How do I get to those ponds?" And I said, "Yeah." I'm kind of still talking pretty loudly. "Yeah, there's 2 ponds around here, and you go down this road and you can get to the ponds. They're just right over there." And he's like, oh, okay. And then I heard movement over off to my left, and that's where my vehicle was. As I looked, I moved my eyes over because what I heard in there was my dog. My dog was moving. She wasn't growling, but she was moving. And what happened was there was someone next to the window of my Tahoe, and that's why the dog was like, oh, someone there. There's someone there. And when I flicked my eyes over to my Tahoe, I saw the female, the woman that was with him. And she was standing directly at the back of my Tahoe, directly at the back, almost kind of like hiding there. And she wasn't crouched down, but she wasn't real tall. And she was she was completely covered up. I just kind of caught the front edge of her. She was kind of moving just a little bit because I think that's kind of what alerted my dog. And my eyes flicked over. I saw her, and immediately I had my hand, it was all in my pocket on my gun. And this happened really quick. My eyes flicked back to that guy, and he saw that I saw her, and he immediately starts approaching me again really quickly this time. Like I pulled the gun out of my pocket, and I didn't aim it. I've been in situations twice where I've had to draw my firearm, and I've never actually had to point it. Not that I'm looking for reasons to point it, but I never actually had to point it. But this all happened really quick. I drew it out of my pocket, and I put my finger on the trigger, and it was in my hand, and I was holding it down to my side. And he got pretty close. He was probably within, let's say, he was probably within 6 foot of me, probably. And he saw me do that, and he immediately stopped. He turned, he looked at the lady, didn't say anything, and they both turned around and just skedaddled back to their vehicle. As soon as they turned around, and I saw that which happened really quick, I jumped back in my vehicle and I locked the door, made sure all the doors were locked, which they were, and then I watched them get flashlights, and they headed off down the road. Supposedly to go look for these ponds. Now I sat there for a couple minutes, and I'm just like, my heart is up. I mean, my adrenaline is pumping, and I'm just like, what in the heck just happened? Because it happened that freaking fast, that fast. I mean, I was trying to put it together. And this is where I made a decision that probably wasn't the best, come to think of it. My wife pointed it out. She wasn't real happy with me when I told her what I did. But this is where I was like, I still need to go get this run in. I'm trying to train for this race. I have to be accountable to my coach. I know where those people are because I saw their flashlights or headlamps or whatever they had. So I finished packing up my vest, got ready to go. I left the gun in my hand. Okay, in my hand. I went around. I let my dog out of the back of the vehicle, turned her collar on. She's got a light up collar. And I shut the doors, locked all the doors, double, triple checked all the doors, make sure they were locked, grabbed my dog. I start my watch because I'm a runner, and I headed back up the opposite direction. That's the way I was going to run anyway. And it kind of gives me the high road above everything else. And I kept the gun out the entire time. I kind of did more of a fast hike before I started running for maybe the first 3/4 of a mile to a mile, just because I was like, just watching, right? And I got out to the point where I was up higher than everyone else. And I could look down there. I could see their headlamps. And sure enough, they had found whatever pond they were after. I still don't know what they were doing down there. And once I felt comfortable and started running, I reholstered my gun, put it back in my hydration pack, and I went ahead and just ran. I did my 4 hours, and I got done and came back, and they were gone. While I was running, I was thinking about this. And I think what happened is they were going to either try to mug me, right? Because you don't think about all this stuff then necessarily. It's trying to put together all the context clues into place, thinking what happened. I think that the second time I went in to use the restroom, I think that she came over and I think she checked the other doors on the passenger side of my vehicle, found out that they were locked, right? And I think she was coming around the back. And then I opened the door. And that guy that was with her saw that, and he rushed up to me, coming up with an excuse, a question about the pawns, to stop me and to warn her at the same time and keep me from getting too close to see what she was doing or what they were planning. That's what I think happened. If she didn't go around and check those doors, I think maybe she was just approaching my vehicle from behind. So I was either going to get mugged or they were going to carjack me after they stabbed me or beat me up. I have no idea, but I think I just narrowly avoided something. Now, I look back and you look at a situation like, and I ended up calling, I called some people I know, and talk with them about it. Now, people ask, well, why didn't you call law enforcement when that happened? Well, those people, they kind of left, and I never had to point my gun, and I just, in the moment, I felt okay about it. I don't know if that's wrong or right, but that's what I felt like. Had I pointed the gun, I probably would have called and said, hey, look, this is what's going on. Especially if you present your firearm, you do want to be the first one to call because the bad guys call and say, there's some crazy guy down here waving a gun around, and you look bad. And you know, all that stuff. So I didn't have to point my gun. They were up to no good. I was pretty sure they weren't going to say anything. So I just went on my merry way. But I look at this and some of the takeaways. What are some of the takeaways? You know what? I need to pay attention to that little voice. I need to pay attention to that gift of fear that's in my head. When something doesn't feel right, something's not right. And I probably should remove myself, honestly. I won't say it was a rookie mistake, but I'm a very scheduled person and I have stuff to do. I want to get it done. And that's what I did. And that's what I fell back to, right? I did listen to the gift of fear, that little voice. I did listen to it to a certain extent because, you know, I pushed the door open with my foot. I knew that people were there. I put the gun in my pocket. I had a really big, good feeling that when I opened that door, that second time, that something was going to happen. It just felt like something was going to happen. And so I was prepared, right? I was prepared. I could have done stuff differently. I know I could have done that. So we'll just leave it at that. You know, hindsight's 20/20. So I survived. Nothing bad happened. It is what it is at this point. I was talking with some people and they're like, hey, you know, I was given the heads up. Hey, you know, down there where you go running, that used to be an okay place. Now, I was heard that we get lots of calls down there for different things, right? There's a whole set of people that are down there doing bad things, right? Doing bad things away from the public. And that maybe I needed to find a different place to run. And I get that. I understand that. But here's the thing is I don't want to go and knowingly put myself in harm's way. So I think I'm just going to pay attention to who's in the parking lot and that kind of stuff, like when I show up to do these things. But you know what? That's a public place. Like, this is going to sound maybe naive, but it's like, I don't want to go in guns a-blazing and just shoot everyone because Todd's got problems and I just want to take back everything. I don't want to do that, but that's a public place. Like, you know, it sounds really crazy, and I'm not just talking about me, but it was mine first. Like, just because a bunch of people show up that want to spray graffiti on rocks or ruin the bathroom or just try to attack me in the parking lot, right? Should I change everything? Should I change my ways? Should I go somewhere else? Should I let them run me off? I don't believe so. And that's just me. And hopefully it doesn't get to a point where I get hurt over it. Like I said, if I show up and I get a real horrible, uneasy feeling again, I'll probably pay attention to it, and I can skip running that day or go find somewhere else to go. But you know, I've been back. That was on Sunday. I've been down there 3 times since. Haven't seen anyone else. And before I park, I have been driving in and driving around the parking lot just to make sure that it's clear and I'm the only one down there, or if they see if there's anything that I need to be aware of, right? And I will be honest with you, there were some days that I would go down there and I would not take a firearm with me. And now I don't like to always wear my vest when I run. If they're short runs, it sucks. But you know what? I don't care anymore. I take the vest and the gun is there. So I like to think that I am prepared, right? And I'll make good decisions, but I don't want to just give up going there. It's like giving up a chunk of land that is a piece of public property just because a few bad apples showed up. And I don't know. That just seems wrong to me. Wrong or right? I don't know. You may have an opinion. You may have not. You may have an opinion. You may not. Whatever. I did what I did. It happened. So, no, I didn't get hurt. They didn't get hurt. They left. Maybe they learned a lesson. I know I learned a lesson. So there you go. But I just wanted to get on here, and I'm so sorry I messed up I hope this was good. I hope you enjoyed this, or you had some good takeaways from this. Yesterday's podcast was very entertaining. We were having a good time. We were laughing. I can't believe I forgot to hit the record button, but I promise I'll get the Cajun Cowboy back on here again. We thought about redoing the podcast as soon as I didn't hit record, but you just can't recreate that without it sounding unnatural. Like, it was natural. It happened. It was spontaneous. It was great. You just can't recreate that and have it sound good. And he'll admit that too. So there you go. I want you guys to go ahead and, finish up your work today. I want you to get out. I want you to spend time with your families. It's Thanksgiving. You got to have a couple days off. Hopefully you do. Maybe you don't. Maybe you got a little time after Thanksgiving off. Spend it with your families. Be thankful for, I know this year's tough, man. This year's tough. Everything's so expensive. So expensive. But get out and enjoy what you have. Real quick, one last thought. Not on necessarily guns or firearms, but I did read a post on Facebook today. A local guy was talking about, hey, look, he just gets on there and he wants to remind everyone. He goes, you know what? Thanksgiving is obviously way more than about having a bunch of food on the table and a big dinner. He's like, if you can't afford it because people are working hard and your money's not going near as far, we've all felt the crunch. We're all feeling it, all of us. You don't have to go and buy a bunch of food. You don't have to have this big, grandiose meal. Right? It's about being thankful for what you have. It's about being thankful for your family and for your friends. I know there's a lot of people out there right now that aren't having a big meal this year because they can't afford it because it's so freaking expensive. And I know that there's a lot of them that are like, you know what? We're just going to hang out as a family. We're just going to, you know what? Maybe it's a shame. When you can go and buy McDonald's and it's probably cheaper than your turkey dinner, right? Pay attention to your friends, pay attention to your family, pay attention to those who may not have anyone to eat dinner with, and know that it's not about the money, it's not about the fancy food and all that stuff. You can still spend time with family. You can have a great Thanksgiving, and that's what I would encourage everyone to do. And as the holidays progress and we get into Black Friday, which is just a couple days away, and we get into the Christmas season, pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to keep up your situational awareness. I think people are desperate this time of year, and I think we need to watch our six. We need to keep an eye out for ourselves and others, and take the precautions that we need to keep us and our family and our friends and our loved ones safe, because there's people out there that are desperate, and they're going to do desperate things. Whether it's like try to take your whole, mug you, take your vehicle, break into your house. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the coming month. So pay attention to those around you. Watch your back. Again, everyone have a great Thanksgiving. As always, if you got any questions or comments, you can always call me. You can text me, area code 620-794-6223. It's area code 620-794-6223. Follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. And then if you haven't, subscribe to the podcast. It's free. It doesn't cost a thing. And share the podcast. That's the one thing that you can do that would help us. It's free. It just takes a couple minutes. Share that thing. The more people we get listening to it, the more we can grow. You guys have a great Thanksgiving. I'm out of here. Bye.